unfortunately, we've not been able to do that. So what we're going to do is try and reduce it all to all the discussions in together rather than a series of separate presentations, and get everyone together and talk about it jointly, so that we finish at lunchtime, and then you can have eat the enormous amount of food that's been designed for 35 people, take doggy bags home, and otherwise set out to try and get back to where you came from. But Sue has asked me to try and say a few words that she would have said, and I will endeavour to provide a brief overview if it's helpful. What she had wanted to say is, obviously you will all be aware of the national impact of the cuts. What she really wanted to concentrate on was the local effect that you were all experiencing, and indeed MLA, as you just heard, is experiencing. She wanted to make the points that we all very much need to change what we're doing in terms of the service models that we currently have, and that we need to start designing our services in a more sparing, strategic and effective manner, which fit in with the changing community needs. In particular, I think she's thinking about the library's future plan that they've been doing work on, and the sort of research that has come out of that, and about how communities can help libraries craft whatever service remains in order to make sure that it's as strong as it can be, and to provide the support, as it were, for a political, the support that would then provide the political support. She also wanted to talk about a rise of localism as an idea, and the idea that there is this big society agenda that no one is quite clear what exactly it might mean just yet, but there is a localism bill being published this week, which talks about things like community budgets, in which libraries will no doubt fall, and the development of local enterprise partnerships, the LEPs, of which there are about 24 now and will be more later, covering those areas of the economic, cultural and social sphere that regional agencies used to deliver in, but with about 1/10 of the funding. She wanted to ask the question, if you like, of the meeting, is how the cultural sector might get involved in some of the emerging decisions around the LEP that will be made, because all the documents are published but the business plans have yet to be written, so there's an opportunity. She also was keen to make the point that there is a large amount of recent research that has been done by MLA, particularly case studies and reports, that might assist you in bolstering your own evidence, and to make the case for the impact that you make and your contribution to communities. And she cannot but emphasise enough the importance of robust and objective evidence that will inform the advocacy that you make, and a lot of that evidence is now appearing on MLA websites and is there to be used. It is also important to try and work with as many other partners as you possibly can, in particular within councils, but also more broadly than that, in order to ensure that you have a kind of that you're all on the same life raft, and there are various examples of chief executives and others who have, as it were, publicly come out in support of culture and libraries already, and there are examples where chief executives haven't, and it would be useful, she thought, to look at the differences between somewhere like Winchester and Corby and other places like Somerset, where perhaps the art services are under threat. She also wanted to talk about the implications for all of the sectors, museums, libraries and archives, and to look, for this whether the people are here or not, I'm not absolutely clear, but there are plenty of examples where there are some fairly big changes taking place, widespread, deep and profound, such as in Bradford, or Suffolk had outsourcing, and Oxfordshire and the library closures there, or Somerset's cuts to cultural spending, and there's clearly a need to work smarter for less. So the question she felt, what is the most effective way of doing this in your local area? Could it be shared? Could we start to make some more examples of best practice, because at the moment they're rather scattered? And how can it be possible for some of the sector to access the private funds and sponsorship that currently we have not been able to do? There is the potential to feel left out left to one's fate by big local authorities who have got social services and health and police and everybody else to worry about, and for smaller parts of local services to feel isolated and even perhaps bullied into taking decisions that under a more strategic reflection they might not wish to make. She felt that this event was quite useful in being able to keep or regain some of the momentum that this area the new museums, libraries and archives might be able to use some of the practice that is around this room to help them, as it were, get ahead and feel that they're taking some control over their lives. And some of the speakers here, I know we've only got 4 out of the 6, and thank you so much for turning out, that those speakers have worked, as it were, resourcefully to maximise their benefits for the communities. We're to share those experiences with you. Tim Desmond, should he have been here, would have hopefully have talked about the lessons he's learned from working with the prisons in Sudbury and how they've worked with the university in Nottingham-Trent to ensure that everything was evaluated effectively so they could use that to communicate the work he's been doing at the Centre for Justice with stakeholders and investors. And Antonio is here and Jan Clark is not, but the two of them were going to talk about the different ways of working that they have experienced, including the private finance initiatives and outsourcing service delivery to a social enterprise, which would be absolutely fascinating, I think, as a way forward. There will also be some discussion. Is Kate, you're here, aren't you? Kate Chantry, yes. Sorry, I'm without my glasses, I can't see anybody. So there will be some discussion from Kate from Suffolk Record Office about volunteering at archives and what the benefits that will derive, and from Rebecca, who is working in Yorkshire on the Cultural Olympiad project on how to share work with young people and to create more accessible exhibitions and activities for that particular constituency. And lastly, is Tony here? Tony, hi Tony. How to access non-traditional funding. Tony Butler from Museums of East Anglian Life will be able to tell you more about providing services for the local authority rather than the other way around, and how that might generate some income. So I hope that you will all find whatever you do this morning to be valuable, and certainly it will be worth sharing it with others, because this is something that is affecting us all, and there are plenty of different ways it could be approached, but one of the things we know is that we will have to make that approach at some point, because it's coming like a train towards us. The last thing that Sue put out there is, how will gross national happiness be measured, and what effect might this have in our sector, given that we are meant to be a sector that is meant to, as it were, be supportive of happiness and social well-being. And Tony, it says here that you've done some work on happiness, and whether that's in your face at the moment, I can't tell, but so a happy Tony, having got here, will talk about how to measure happiness. So that's really all that Sue wanted to contribute to today. I hope that's been useful, and good luck with your session.